Boom 0. r/AskReddit. What is your most terrifying, we need to leave, now, random rush of fear you've felt? Was once at summer camp and was walking to the beach. It's like a 5-minute walk from the cabins we were staying in, and the path to get there is made of sand and surrounded by trees. We were supposed to go in partners but mine dipped. Anyways, I was walking for probably about 2 minutes and I hear leaves crunching in the trees beside me. So I look over and what I see is none other than a brown bear cub lugging a tree. I think that everyone knows that where there's a cub, there's a mama. This bear starts making bear noises. I just about shat my pants and bolted out of there. Bear. Fuck. While babysitting, I heard the sound of glass being scraped with something metal and immediately hid the children in a walk-in closet. I called the police and very nearly escaped being robbed or worse. The way you reacted saved many lives. Good job. I'm sorry that happened. Unfortunately, it's extremely common in my state. When I was dating my crazy ex, we got into a fight on the highway while I was driving. When things seemed to calm down, I got out of the vehicle to breathe and she drove off. As I was walking down the highway at night, I could feel an immense fear building up. I grew up in the woods, walking around every night, but this was something I never experienced before. A few minutes later I saw something run across the road, so I started walking backwards. Immediately right after that, my ex came back to pick me up. As much as I hated to get into my car with her, there was no way I was staying on that highway. Edit. It was a small animal, like a coyote. That shit scares me, man. Being hunted is its own form of torture. Was riding my bike home from a friend's house when I was a young teen. Over 20 years ago, we had both lost track of time, so it was dusk when I left. Lived about a mile away. Was traveling down one of the last roads to get home when I had this weird feeling. So I turned around to look back down the road. Saw headlights pass, stop, back up and turn on the road I was on. It was a pretty long road without many houses and no street lights or anything. As soon as they turned, I bolted into the woods and hid pretty far in. The car slowly drove by and kept going. No idea what they were doing, but I didn't want anything to do with it. This happened to me too. A van kept driving slightly in front of me and stopping so I'd have to pass by. Then waited in a car park at the other side of a lane I had to pass down for me to come out the other side. I could see the guy looking about for me from where I was hiding. I was camping with a friend in a backwoods camping area. Not very many sites and they were all super spaced out. We had already been there one night, had the site fully set up. We had been hiking all day, the works. We drove into town to get some food, and when we were driving back to our secluded campsite we passed a man walking out of the only road to our site. We both locked eyes with him and I got a super creeped out feeling. He stared at us like he knew us and hated us, but we had never seen him in our lives. When we got to our tent we went inside and everything we had in there was tossed. Our bags were dumped out and our clothes were thrown everywhere. We quickly realized both our hunting knives were gone, along with a bunch of our clothes. We also realized it had to be that guy we saw. There were no other sites or hiking paths he could have been walking from besides ours. We jumped in the car and drove back towards where we had seen him. He was gone. We drove a bit further and found a common area where other campers were gathered. We sprinted down and asked, "Have any of you seen this guy?" and described him. The people at the gathering just stared at us and didn't speak, giving us an even more creeped out feeling. It was at that point that I told my friend we need to leave this place right now. Walking back to our car we looked over the edge of a guardrail and saw all our stolen clothes in the woods. We gathered them up but didn't find either of our knives. Knowing this guy was still out there with those knives and that no one around us cared freaked us out so much. We packed the car up and ended our camping trip early. No way were we staying out in those woods one more night. I was in an Irish bar in Bangkok with my wife, and a group of 5 very muscular Asian guys came in and started to drag a white guy out. The bar owner stood up and yelled, "This does not happen here," and amazingly the 5 dudes listened and went outside to wait for this guy to leave. The owner asked the guy what's going on and he said these dudes were going to kill him. At this point the bar owner was trying to smooth things over and offered us some free beers. But I'm 99% sure this was actually an Irish mob-owned bar and we were there at the wrong time. We were definitely in a hurry to leave. Long story short, we left and never went back. A coworker of mine went there later and told me the waitress urged him to leave because there was going to be a hit there that day. Irish mob in Bangkok? I don't know. They definitely seemed like they had criminal connections. As soon as this happened, a couple GAR type folks came out of the back room. They also laughed when the police showed up saying, "The fuck they gonna do?" It was a weird experience. By most I got a get the fuck out experience for sure. When I was hiking in the woods and I saw a baby bear, I slowly turned and walked quickly away from the bear because I'm not getting eaten. I had to drag my friend along with me because he didn't understand why we needed to return the way we came from. Mama right behind and she hangry. Facts dude. I'm not about to die. Mama bears scare the hell out of me. It was about 2 AM in our apartment on the top floor, 3rd floor, and we woke up to the fire alarm going off. It was late and we just woke up and we've kind of been conditioned to feel like fire alarms aren't actually real. And then I saw smoke billowing on from under the door. It was fucking terrifying worrying about what was outside the door, and running down the stairs while it burned our lungs and eyes and we could barely see was an unforgettable terrifying experience. Definitely when my town got hit with the worst firestorm we've ever had in 2017. Thomas Fire. We knew there was a fire somewhere. Maybe another town? We weren't too worried. The power is beginning to go spotty, and the winds are howling outside. Then my roommate gets a call from a friend on the other side of town. "My house is on fire. You guys need to pack a bag." After the call was over, the power went out and stayed out. So we packed our bags, and I start to hear little plinks against the roof, almost like rain. But it isn't rain. It's just ash. Not 15 minutes had gone by, and I look outside. We lived by a large hill only 2 blocks away, and it was burning. It got there so fast. I got back inside and tell my roommates we have to leave right away. This is when our neighbors started wigging out too. We had to then capture our 3 very scared and confused cats. It was so crazy to drive away and see only blackness ahead of you, but in your rearview mirror only flames. Our neighborhood home ended up being spared. However, many of my friends who lived closer to the mountains were not so lucky. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. See you in the next video.